Today we are really diving into the story of a global superstar. His rise was just absolutely meteoric, but his public struggles, they were just as turbulent. We're going to break down the anatomy of Justin Bieber's breakdown. It all seemed to boil down to moments just like this one. A star at his absolute breaking point, literally just walking off stage. This image, it became a symbol of something much, much deeper going on. It tells a story of incredible pressure and a totally unique path to fame. So, the big question we have to ask is, how on earth did it get to this point? Okay, so let's talk about the Bieber breakdown. We're talking about a pattern of public problems. When he was in his early 20s, Justin Bieber's behavior was pretty much a constant source of headlines. And look, this wasn't just a few bad days here and there. No, it was a really clear and honestly concerning pattern that made everyone think, okay, something much bigger is going on here. So here's a quick timeline of the trouble. We're talking about everything from, kind of childish stuff like throwing eggs at a neighbor's house to more bizarre things like getting caught on camera urinating in a restaurant bucket. But then it got serious. A DUI arrest in Miami, abruptly canceling shows and just storming right off stage. All of these actions, they started to paint this picture of a young man who was just spiraling. And the whole world was watching, asking, what is really going on behind the curtains of this massive phenomenon? So, the rise of a YouTuber, the first of his kind. To really get a grip on the breakdown, we have to rewind. Go all the way back to the beginning. See, his discovery didn't happen in some fancy recording studio or on a big TV talent show. Nope. It happened on a platform that was about to completely change the game of what it means to be famous. Yeah, he was discovered on YouTube. His career was one of the first to go absolutely supersonic, launched right from that platform. Think about it. Unlike all the pop stars that came before him, Bieber's rise was completely powered by the internet. He was one of the very first to do this, to have this direct, totally unfiltered line to millions and millions of fans. And this whole thing, it was orchestrated by one guy who saw the potential. And that man was his manager, Braun, who said, he's fantastic, he is special. He just saw a kid singing his heart out on YouTube and immediately saw a global superstar. So he set this incredible, unprecedented rise to fame in motion, all because he believed Bieber was, well, special. But as we're about to see, his job in managing that special talent, it got way, way more complicated than just being a manager. Okay, so let's get into this. The parent and the manager. This is where those professional and personal lines get super blurry. See, Scooter's role, it very quickly went way beyond just professional stuff. It turned into something deeply personal, blurring those lines in a way that would really define Justin's entire adolescence and even into his young adult years. So on one hand, you have Scooter acting as this surrogate dad. He's providing day-to-day guidance, helping with personal life decisions, giving emotional support. With Justin's own father back in Canada and not really in the picture, Scooter filled that role. But then on the other hand, he's the professional manager. He's handling career strategy, business negotiations, and controlling the public image. So here's the central conflict, right? How in the world do you rebel against your dad when your dad is also your boss who controls literally every single aspect of your career? And you know what? This exact tension was perfectly captured in this one single candid moment that was filmed at LAX. An argument at an airport over a toy helicopter? Yeah, it sounds like a small thing, right? But believe me, it reveals everything about their super complicated dynamic. So you hear Justin say, you're not even giving me an answer. You're just saying no. This is the teenager talking, right? Here he is, this global superstar with all this money, and he just wants to buy a simple toy. You can feel his frustration. He feels like his independence, his money, should allow for it. He's just pushing back, wanting a reason, exactly like any kid would do with their parent. And then you get Scooter's response. He says, I already gave him a solid answer. He's not going to talk about it anymore. We're done with the conversation. Listen to that. He's not acting like a manager trying to negotiate a business deal here. No way. He is being a parent. Just land down the law. We're done. It's such a perfect, brilliant illustration of those completely blurred lines that define Justin's entire world. All right, so now we get to the anatomy of a frenzy, the fever pitch of fame. So on top of all this unique internal pressure we've been talking about, you had this insane level of external fame. And it wasn't just intense. At times it was genuinely chaotic, even dangerous, both for him and for his fans. Just listen to this fan at a mall appearance. I got here at like 9 in the morning. There was people who slept here in cars. Just take this one incident at a mall in New York. It was supposed to be a simple promotional thing,
but it just completely descended into mass hysteria. You had fans waiting overnight, sleeping in their cars, skipping school. They created a scene that the local authorities were just totally, completely unprepared for.
So let's walk through the mall meltdown. First, the promotion. An in-store appearance is announced. Simple enough. But then came the mob. Thousands and thousands of fans just overwhelmed the venue, which leads to the shutdown. The police and fire marshals have to be called in to disperse this uncontrollable crowd. And then the blame. The authorities actually considered charging his manager, Braun, with inciting a riot. Can you imagine? That's a huge sign that this level of stardom, it was just a whole new, uncontrollable kind of beast.
Okay, so let's put the pieces together. You've got these completely blurred parental lines with his manager. And then you layer on this chaotic, totally unprecedented level of fame. All of this, it points to one central theory that might just explain the breakdown that came next. And that theory is called child star syndrome. It's the idea that child stars, because they're deprived of a normal adolescence, can become emotionally and developmentally stunted. And look, this isn't a new idea. It's a phenomenon we've seen with other huge stars who grew up in the spotlight. Think Michael Jackson, think Britney Spears. The core idea is that this immense, incredible pressure of early fame takes a really profound and lasting toll on a kid's development.
So think about the pressures of young stardom. He was isolated from his friends and his peers. He was forced to deal with really adult issues like finances and career strategy. His normal childhood activities were replaced with work. His growth was basically stunted at a critical age. So yeah, the crucial point is this. Instead of just, hanging out with friends or playing video games, he was dealing with tour schedules, big money, and global career strategy. All the normal kid stuff was completely replaced by the high-stakes business of just being Justin Bieber.
As one expert put it, they tend to get frozen in time in terms of their maturity level. And that right there is the absolute core of the theory. When a kid's development gets paused at such a critical age, you can easily end up with a 20-year-old who's reacting to the world with the emotional tools of a teenager. And not just any teenager, a teenager who was never actually allowed to be one. So when you stunt their growth, that comes home to roost. When you look at it through this lens, suddenly the outbursts, the DUI, all that erratic behavior, maybe they weren't just random acts of some spoiled celebrity. Maybe they can be understood as the inevitable result of that stunted growth, the consequences of a childhood that was basically sacrificed at the altar of fame.
And that really leaves us with this final and pretty provocative question. Can a child star ever truly grow up? I mean, when fame just crashes into your life before you've even had a chance to figure out who you are, what's the real cost? It really makes you wonder if it's ever possible to fully catch up.